Time has come once again to speak as witches and wizards and spirits do. I'm Daniel Dubois,
I'm Michaela Gaffinstone.
and we're your hosts for the Think Like a Wizard podcast. Welcome to Season 5, Episode 2, Apep. All right, so this episode is going to be a little different. Apep has decided that we'll do his introduction after we do a short meditation. So, what I need from you guys listening is one, make sure you're in a place where you're not driving or you're putting yourself in any danger if you do meditate and, kind of separate yourself from the world a little bit. And then once you're secure in your place, we'll start. So pause, do what you need to do, and then we'll go. All right. I'm assuming you paused, so I'm going to continue. So what I need you to do first, I need you to imagine a light. And I want that light to have a specific color. And that color you're going to turn that light is going to be a color that helps you be relaxed and receptive to information. So when you have that light, we're going to start to, I'm going to lead you in some breathing. When you inhale, you're going to bring in that light, and then you're going to hold. And when you hold, you're going to let that light saturate into your cells. And then when you exhale, you're going to take away everything that the light pushed out of your cells. And we're going to do that for a count of 5 for each. And I'll count it for you. So once you have your light, we're going to start. And so breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. Let that light nourish your cells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let your exhale take away everything that was driven out of your cells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to do it again. Breathe in the light. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let that light saturate your cells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now breathe out everything that was pushed out of your cells again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, now. I am Apep, and I want you to hear my words and consider them. Imagine yourself. It is the dawn of the universe. Here we sit in a void. Nice, dark, cool. Just beyond what your senses can experience, you can feel it. The endless possibilities of existence. But take a moment and sit here and enjoy this moment. This is the time where I knew the most happiness. Sit with me and enjoy it so that you can understand. Now look off in the distance. You see the light. Watch as the light cracks through the darkness. See all that will be in this world revealed to you. Don't fight it. Don't be disappointed. Just let everything that is there come to you. Let it fill you. Let yourself see the possibilities. Now look and see if you can see your path. Look and see if you can see where the light is guiding you. Let Ra's light show you and see yourself in that position. See yourself bathed in that light, looking forward to your possibilities. Now take a moment to look behind you. Turn around and look at the ground. You have a shadow. This is where I and the other dark ones live. We are here watching you in the light. We are here waiting for you when the night comes, when it is time to see what you've done during your day and to understand the possibilities of another tomorrow. We are here to help nurture that world that you will create. Breathe in. From this moment forward, don't be afraid of the dark. The darkness has always been your friend. It has been there since the beginning. It was there before the beginning. And it is a place where you can always go back to. Even when the light has revealed things that you don't want to see in yourself, in others, in the world around you. In the darkness, in the shadows, you can always be yourself and take that moment to see what is possible, to let yourself truly be who you are. We are going to breathe on a count of five one more time. Breathe in, one, two, three, four, five. Hold it, one, two, three, four, five. When you exhale, let everything go. One, two, three, four, five. Now go forward from this moment with my blessings. And we're done.
That was
Mm,
epic.
right. Well,
Apep as well, but epic.
yes, it was
Wow.
Apep. It was Apep.
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
that's been it's been my experience with Apep all week. Was that?
Whew. Some potent stuff right there. And I had a roll of thunder just once while you were
All
talking.
right.
Mhm.
Well, it's interesting. So we'll take a moment from that, especially for you guys listening. Get yourself back situated. You may have felt stuff. I'm sure Apep gave it that way for a reason. So there's going to be a few different things. First, though, because Apep it amuses him, I'm going to read the introduction that ChatGTP wrote about him, and then we're going to move into some of the warnings Apep has about magic for you as someone coming
Mm.
into this. So I'm going to read this. I love this. Actually, when I saw it. Okay, so while you're recovering, here's Apep introducing himself. I am Apep. You have called me evil, monster, the enemy of the light. You repeat the story where I am slain each night so your sun may rise. Yet still I return. Have you wondered why? I am not the villain. I am a force. Before gods, before stars, before your breath, I was. I am the pulse beneath creation, the coil in the deep, not the destroyer of life, but the one who dares ask, what remains when your order dissolves? You fear me because you fear your own shadows, but I do not hide. I am the place where illusions break. Every magician with their magic must meet me. In dream, in death, in the unraveling of who you thought you were. I am the test that strips you of false light. and the invitation to find the fire that does not burn out. Do not call me evil. I am the chaos that makes your truth possible. I am the night that makes your dawn meaningful. I am the great serpent. Wrestle with me if you must, but know, those who face me do not flinch are never the same again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know about the listeners, obviously, but I'm being quite mind blown today. This is, whew, holy smokes.
And that's so yes, Apep has a very, very, very important message this week. And the big one is, so this is the big one that he wants to share. So every week we're having spirit come on, and we've been working with spirits, big ones like Hecate, Lilith, you know, we had Baba Yaga and Quetzalcoatl. But Apep wants to share this one thing. Michaela and I kind of are sitting in a sort of favored status moment because they're coming to us to speak to you guys, the listeners. So the normal things that you guys would have to do, we don't have to do because they're seeking us out. So if you were to seek APEP, you're going to have this without benefit of APEP coming in. How to word that? APEP came to me, so he's not treating me the same way he would treat someone asking him. You wouldn't have the benefit of knowing it's APEP right away. You would ask, and then APEP would do stuff, and he would introduce himself. You would just start having these revelations and start experiencing these things. And then if he judged you capable of handling it, then he would work with you. Same way it is with Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga is the same thing. She'll test you as she does stuff with you. APEP is no different. So it's kind of a thing for people going forward to realize. Do your learn what stories you can before you work with the spirits you're going to work with, but don't limit yourself by those stories, like we said before. But take time, learn if there's offerings and stuff, because the idea is you have to show your reverence to what you're working for so that they know you're going to have a good relationship with them. You kind of have to prove
It's
yourself.
also it's a strengthening of connection as well,
Yeah,
which is necessary.
right. Kyle and I get off easier because we're the marketing people.
We're the social media people.
That's right. We're doing the social media for them. So yeah, you're going to have more tests than Michaela and I will have working with these spirits right now. So be prepared for that. And some of the spirits you're going to work with aren't going to be as nice as Kid Glove with you. Like I'm not going to say I had Kid Gloves this week, but it was, but I knew it was Apep, and so I had the idea that everything happening was him. But when you don't know it's him and it's happening, that's where it
Mm.
gets really interesting.
So is this a caution to choose wisely,
Yes.
to take time, all of the things?
Mm-hmm. No magic's being done with a spirit like Apep. So if you're going to go with the dark spirits, quote unquote, the spirits who live in the shadow, who live in the void, you're going to see your shadow side. I'll say my experience this week. My experience this week has been jarring, not because there's been anything terrible done to me, but just the simplicity of it and how honest it was. No
Mm.
judgments, no hidden meanings, no hidden lessons, nothing to go chasing down, having to find old books. Just here's your lesson. This is what it is. And it's in that simplicity that it was jarring.
That actually makes a lot of sense. And if the listener has done any shadow work, you already know that you're basically working with the aspects of you that you don't like or you think are somehow wrong, incorrect, bad, insert term here. Those are the things we like to pretend we don't have.
Right.
So the
Yeah.
pretense, the simplicity of holding up a mirror and losing the pretense would be jarring. I mean, it
Right.
has to be jarring. That's the nature of the thing. So I can totally see that, respect that. Absolutely. And, you have to face it a lot of times doing the work simply because it's there to be faced.
Right.
It's not a rite of passage per se. It's just that it's a natural step on the path you're on.
Well, that's
It's just
exactly
there.
it. Saying it
Hmm.
like that. This isn't a rite of passage. It's just here's you. Here's what you need to work with me. Here's what you need to take care of in yourself. Not a judgment. Just
Just
you can't
is.
climb 10 stairs yet. You can only climb five. Well, I need you to climb 10 stairs. It's not a judgment. It's just here's the facts.
Right. Yeah. And that's something we were talking about before the podcast episode started today
Yes.
of people reading into something that they're being told um, from their own lens and not questioning it, not stopping to think, is why am I reacting this way? Or is this perspective the best perspective, the the most functional, the one that I want? Choose a question, but I think some self-examination comes also very importantly in responses to things because if you go off like half-cocked on a hey, this is what I read into that, and you don't give space in order to go back and check again, is that really there? Is that really what the message was? And this can be in an experience, it can be in something you hear, read, see. It's the initial impression you get is typically your lens, it's your kaleidoscope, and you just turned the end a little bit and got a different view, but it's yours. Nobody else is seeing it that way. So just a little pause can sometimes bring more light into that particular shadow and give you broader range.
Right. Well, that's it. It's the okay. I'll go with this. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with the movie Devil's Advocate. Keanu Reeves, Al Pacino. Al Pacino plays the devil.
I can see that.
Yeah. So Keanu Reeves, the main character, is going through, and his career as a lawyer is getting more successful, but he's doing more and more, we'll say, unsavory things to grow as a lawyer. By the end of the movie, he's confronting Al Pacino's the devil, and he's accusing him of stuff. And Al Pacino's simple answer was, "I didn't make you do anything. I didn't make anyone else do anything. I just suggested something, and you did it. I didn't force you. I didn't make you. I just gave you an idea."
Hmm.
So now, when you're working with the dark fathers, the dark mothers, the dark whatever relationship, some will enjoy it. Some will have a great laugh at it. Watching you dance through hoops that they didn't tell you to dance through. They just suggested you dance through them, or that you know, these are things. I guess part of the warning is you're your own worst enemy in this case when you go up into the darkness, but you're also you're you're your own liberator at the same time. When you go into the darkness and you do the dark magic, it's without prying eyes of others. It's you alone. You left bare for you to see.
Right. I think what I'm picking up from everything you've said so far, so I'll put it into a different word, is you're going to be humbled
Right.
because the stories that you've clothed yourself in, the stories that others have given to you, They all get removed, and then what's left is you, warts and all. And that's something that, one has to accept that we all have aspects that are less than shiny. The sun doesn't shine in
Right.
those parts of who we are. And that's fine. Like it would be a little weird if we were all sunshine and roses all the time. Like I wouldn't trust that, would you? That's a little, hmm, what's that about? And where's the growth edge? See, for shadow work, there's a lot of growth. I mean, if you want to do growing, roots grow in the dark, you
Hmm.
know. Amazing things happen in the dark. And that's your quest, your offer, even your gift.
Right.
So it's an interesting thing to look at. Tread with awareness, I would say.
Right. Yeah. Because this isn't to scare people off. This is just to make people aware. Like, yeah, there's a few things coming to mind, but it's just to make you aware. There's no intention of multiple or emotional manipulation. There's no intention of trying to even give you guidance. It's just you're in the darkness. That's you. There's nothing else. Like, here's the word he's been trying to push out. In the light, when you can be seen, you can wear things that distract the eye. So you can hide things. In the dark, there is no light that you can use to disguise things. There is just you.
Love that. Hmm.
Because, we equate light to being good and we equate darkness to being bad, but that's not true.
Yeah, where did that come from? I
And
don't think it's even biblical. I don't think it's even biblical. Like, I'm
yeah,
not sure where that came from.
like I know there's fear of the unknown, right? So the darkness represents the
Yes.
unknown, but in the dark, there's also the truly known because you
Yeah.
can't do anything else but to know things.
I'm going to investigate into where the fear of dark came from because it's got to be some serious stories around that.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I was
Really?
thinking about that this week too, because I'm like, I think like as an adult, like I'll walk around in the dark, usually especially if I know the place like the back of my hand, right? And I
Mhm.
won't care and I won't be afraid of anything jumping out or scaring me. It's only when I suspect there's something there then that I'm more cautious. But in the dark itself, because the dark has many wonderful qualities to it. This is where a lot of us first do our intimate connections is in the dark.
Yeah. I'm going to look it up as we're talking because I'm really, really curious and patience isn't always my best.
There's a lot of good things in the dark, and you can't escape yourself in the dark because in the end, when you can't see and you think you're isolated and there's no one around you, you have yourself. The
Yeah.
light can distract you, and the light can give you things to distract yourself with. And you can use the light to distract others. But in the dark, when there's nothing else,
Okay.
which fine.
I have a response from my
Mm,
quick search. What is this? No, go away. It's trying to distract me here.
mm,
So, nyctophobia, fear of the dark, is thought to have deep evolutionary roots stemming from our ancestors' vulnerability to predators at night.
mm.
In the absence of light, humans lose their primary sense for detecting threats, making them more vulnerable to attacks from nocturnal predators. So, okay, I can see, humans would be prey animals for a whole lot of things like, saber-toothed tigers and, well, tigers generally, and so
Right.
on. So, okay, okay, I can see that. I, of course, went straight for the whole where in mythology did this come from,
Mhm.
but it's
Right.
actually far more human than that. So, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's
There's
that's what I
definitely
came
that.
up with very quickly.
But human beings also have echolocation.
Probably not as sharp as sight, though.
No. But you do like, yeah. Yes, at night versus a predator designed to function at night, absolutely, we are definitely at a deficit.
Hmm.
But we're not
Well,
when
dinner.
yeah, but when we're not faced with a predator, we can still maneuver around in the dark. We have many senses to maneuver around in the dark, but we do have the echolocation that gets us a sense of by the sounds bouncing off of things. But we tend not to use it as much, but it's taught to blind people, or it's
Hmm.
now being taught to blind people.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's a whole other direction to look at, but interesting. Very interesting to look at.
Well, because I was like, because me too, that's my first instinct too was, oh yeah, well, of course, predators at night. Like, we don't have that vision, but we also live in a different world now. We're used to light at night. But what I
Mm.
started to notice was, and this actually comes from love of martial arts or even at least the fictions around martial arts, anyways, and the learning to fight blind. So over the years, I would contemplate, well, how would that work? You can use your hearing and stuff like that. But then I started to realize, just just for myself, like I'd sit in the house, let it be all dark, and then just try to maneuver around, and then going by memory. How does the air feel? But then starting to realize, like you start to get a sense of depth. Because at first, when you lose light, it feels like the world just closes in on you, and
Mm.
then you're stuck in this little space, and you have no idea where anything is anywhere. But if you actually kind of allow yourself to relax, you start to get a sense of the volume of the room you're in. But it takes time, and you really like it's not just something you do like that, but you have to kind of let your fear go away, and you kind of have to accept that you can't see.
That might be a big feature.
Yeah, because that
Yeah.
was where it switched for me. Is I accepted, okay, I can't see right now. I'm not going to spend resources on trying to get light. So I'm going to spend my resources into other things, other perceptions.
Hmm. Interesting. I don't know how that plays into the magic and the shadow work, but I feel fairly sure it will.
Yeah,
Like somebody's getting something from that that's going to help on that
yeah,
path. Maybe they need to be in the forest at night.
yeah.
And hey, I'm not telling anybody, so if you get eaten by a nocturnal
Right.
bear, don't come haunting me. But it's just I'm thinking around what that might do for someone. Maybe, yeah, nighttime can be you can do things at night that you might not have
Right.
considered. Um, and it's certainly, if you want to do some meditation outside
Mm,
in the dark, if you feel safe to do so because ancestral concerns will pop up if you're not
right.
really sure you're safe in that location. But once you are, that can be such a cool thing to do. And then you're amazed by how much light is actually there in the
Yeah.
darkness. That's the other thing. Um, Trying to find sufficient darkness is quite difficult.
Yes.
I,
That's the
I lived
bad part.
in I lived in Bangladesh for a while, and for some time I lived out in the countryside where there was no electricity. No electricity. So at night there was no artificial light, and I cannot describe to you how many stars there are.
Mm,
There's a phenomenal number of stars,
right.
and when the moon is full, you can't get dark. Like
No.
there isn't any darkness. It's so bright. And your eyes are very naturally adjusting to things simply because it's going with natural rhythm. There is no electricity. And it's fascinating by the thing that you think is so dark, even in less than a full moon, it's actually not.
Yeah.
Right? It's not as dark as you think. And again, I don't know what relevance that has either, but it came up, so I give it to you.
Well, because I was going to say this, okay? So the idea is you accept that you're not going to be able to see, so you're not spending resources on trying to see. Or in other words, you accept that what you're trying to do can't be done right now, so you're not spending your resources on trying to make it happen. And instead, you allow yourself to exist in the experiences that are available to you.
Hmm.
And so
The
you put
path is the one, it's not the one you're used to.
yes, and that's actually where the problem with the light comes in. The light allows you to fixate on things because you can
Hmm.
see it, you have awareness of it, all the possibilities are there. But now it's like, well, we've taken that away from you. Now what are you going to do with yourself? I think my voice went really low there, but or very quiet. They're soft. But what do you do when we take away all those possibilities and there's just you, and now you have to find them without external guidance?
Hmm. Yeah. Wow. There's a lot of thought-provoking stuff today. I'm definitely leaving you in the lead on this one.
Hmm.
This is yours to play with.
Well, it's funny because as I was working with the Pep this week, I was like, oh my God, what's the episode going to be like for Michaela? Like,
I'm here to learn.
because
Nope.
usually, right,
It's,
the exchange has been I do this, I do the pre-work, and then Michaela gets all the downloads on the episode.
yeah. And if I get something, I'll certainly bring it forward. But I'm, what I get right now is that this is your baby. You're in the lead. You
Yeah.
go.
So to give people an idea what that looks like magically, when I worked, so the first thing we did actually, so the day following when we recorded last, I did a spell with a pep at night. And one of the recurring lines was, Lord of darkness, be the light. Lord of darkness, give me sight. And every time I repeated those words, a pep actually became a being of light. Instead of having dark and black scales, they were silver and he radiated a golden light every time I said those words. So there's already all these kind of strange contradictions showing up when we were working, kind of setting up
Mm.
that things aren't what you think they are. That thing we keep repeating, it's not what you think it is. But he was
There's
kind of,
levels to that. There's levels to that, though. You get on an intellectual level, okay, it's not what I think it is. Uh-huh. What does that mean? And then there's a level of understanding that kicks in. And then it's like, oh, okay, that. Ah, but no, there's more. And there's layers and layers and layers. So every time we say it, there's a whole new thing.
and then just the fact that you're imploring a being of darkness to become light, to reveal things to you, basically. So basically, that whole line is asking for revelations. And so I got a lot of revelations this week, or I got a way of look. So I got sight, basically, at least metaphorical. And it kind of like just made me look at things dispassionately. This is what this is. This is what this is. No judgments, no emotions tied in, no baggage being put on it, no stories being told about it. Just this is what this is. That was what I had. I had the insight to not judge anything and not put my stories on it.
Yeah. Well, when we start judging and putting stories on things, then you're taking something spiritual, putting it into the physical in an incomplete way. And that's absolutely a download. That you're taking just a small part and making it into a solid form. And that's not where it shines. That's not the best place to be. So the objectivity keeps the knowledge purer. I have no idea where this comes from, but okay. Yeah, that's what I
But it
got.
does. Those exact words work. Because when you aren't putting your own data into it, you're looking at that purely for what it's worth. So you're not taking away from it. Like, so Apep is the Egyptian, just for people who don't know who we're talking about, even though like we're saying all these details. Apep, also known as Apophis in Greek, is the Egyptian god of chaos and darkness, a primordial giant serpent who chases the god Ra across the sky, and Ra being the god of the sun, carrying the sun on his boat across the sky until it gets to the end and then go to the underworld and they do the thing again. But so you would think if Pep's whole job is to destroy everything. But that's the stories we tell each other versus what something is. But the whole metaphor of that story, ChatGPT put it as what's really happening is that a Pep is challenging Raw to he's challenging him to, what's the word I'm looking for? To show his value, to show why the light is important. Like, why does this exist? Why did this manifest?
Hmm.
So that chase
Well,
is to just to, it's like, if you look at the devil, right? We all get this image of the devil as this bad being and whatever, like however you choose to look at that. But his job is just to question God. Why are you doing this? Why is this happening this way? You know?
I have long thought that
Yeah.
that was a very puritanical
Mhm.
sort of squashing of the ability to question and the ability to, seek the light, seek the answers. And, ooh, well, if you question things, then, definitely of the devil, like, okay, all right. Can you answer my question now?
Yeah.
Just,
This wow, this brings into a lot of stuff. So I know we're talking about a dichotomy here, but this even goes further. Like, so I've said this before, and I'm not sure if it was on the podcast, but so you have like Stephen Hawking's and Neil deGrasse Tyson have both stated we don't need philosophy anymore, right? But the whole point of one of the points of philosophy is to ask yourself, why am I asking this question? Like science is, I'm asking a question. But even before you get to using the scientific method, it's why am I asking this? Because this is going to lead to my biases. This is going to lead to, you know, how I'm going to define my methodology and my testing. So what you could look at is these dark spirits, these dark gods, whatever, their job is to, even before you decide to commit to something, why do you even want to commit to something? Why do you even want this to happen? This is the place you look at in the dark, away from all distractions, to why do I want to do this?
you know, I think you have not said that on the podcast before. I'm pretty sure I would remember it.
Mm.
And the first thing that leaps to mind is how arrogant of
Yeah,
both of them to say that, and how dismissive
yeah.
of the right to ask a question. I find that quite staggering that they'd be so up their own
Mm.
backsides that that's something they'd say. Like, wow, that's, yeah, holy smokes. That they thought that was a thing to say.
Mm.
If you can't ask why you're asking a question. Like if you don't know what your motivation is and your intention, which is where you ask why. I mean, we've said this all the way through the podcast. You need to be clear on that. How are you going to be clear if you can't ask questions? When people say don't question this, it
Mm.
is typically because either they don't know the answer or they know it and they don't want you to know it.
Mm.
But those are the only reasons for not wanting a question. I can't think of another reason to not want a question asked. And if somebody has an idea, let me know.
Yeah. So yeah. So think about that. That's been the whole point of my work with the Apep this week was just to get down to what is the truth of what you want to do? What is the truth of who you are? And sometimes that's best done in the dark with no distractions.
Ooh, that's a journey.
Yeah. And then the light can then guide you on your path. But before you choose even a light or a path, why are you choosing a path in the first place? That's a very fundamental question, right? Why are you even doing this?
Well, it's hugely important, yes, because it will totally affect what your outcome is. And if you don't know why you're proceeding, then you really can't tell what kind of outcome you're going to get, and you might not be prepared for it.
And it's
So I
super
think
important when you're doing
clarity,
magic.
again, clarity before you start, 100% all the way. Like if people listening to the podcast get nothing else, get that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, see, yeah,
I'm
some
really
moments you
enjoying this,
have,
by the way. This is epic.
yeah, because
You've had a hell of a week.
I did. It's been like,
Woo.
I've been, well, yesterday, I was like, a Pep goes, okay, go to camp. We're going to do some work there. Go to the cottage. And then I go there, grab my stuff, and I go, and he's like, okay. I just watch a couple of shows and take a nap. That's your work for today. Just relax. Don't think about anything. Just, and part of me was like about to fight it, but then went, no, thank God I can use this. I need to relax. But in your magical works, you do need what's your motivation because, and I've kind of answered people's questions like this before. Like, what's the important? Why do you need to do magic? Why do you need to be spiritual? My answer is you don't. You
No,
don't
it's
need
not for
to.
everybody.
So, if you are going to pursue it, you have to look into yourself and find your own reason because things will happen, right? Regardless of what you do, things happen. Things follow their flow, regardless if you're consciously aware of it or unconsciously aware or subconsciously aware of it. You still follow the flow you're on to the best of your ability. Whether you, the more, like if you're just being yourself, like I could just tell you to be yourself and then you can follow the flow because you're being yourself.
I just had a caution drop in
Right.
though with what you're saying, and that is if you choose not
Mm-hmm.
to ask the questions and not to go into the spiritual realm, if you will, then the risk you face is being catapulted into a direction that doesn't serve you, and you won't realize because you never asked why. And
Right.
the specifics that come up, unsurprising as it's me, and it tends to be a theme, is religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the number of times that someone will become religious precisely because an event has happened in their lives that unnerved them, tipped them upside down, caused them distress, all those things. And the only thing they knew to do was to go to religion because other people are telling them, and I'm emphasizing these words because it's important. This is all human based, right? This is not spiritual at all. Other people are telling them, oh, come, we have the path for you. This is your salvation. This is your light. Here, we'll make you feel better. And and then they feed you a bunch of rules. And all of this is very, very physical, very, very human, and has got squat to do with spirituality, nothing to do with it. But if you haven't asked the questions why, if you haven't looked into spiritual work, you're not going to see that. Now, if you don't mind ending up in a religion where you follow the rules and you live your life based on them, then okay, that's your choice for your experience. Danielle and I choose differently. If you're listening to this podcast, chances are you are already asking some questions. Don't stop asking the questions.
Yeah. In the end, right? The reason to do the spiritual magical thing is to reclaim your power. Otherwise, you're giving it to everyone else.
Hmm? And following the rules, which make no frickin' sense whatsoever when you look at them. Those rules are purely to control.
Right. So yes, the my usually my full true answer to the question is why do you need to do this? Because you reclaim your power. But things can still happen without you. Like you can still accidentally cast a spell. You can still be guided to things even if you don't have a practice. But it's going to happen in a way that because they can't communicate because you don't know the flow well and you don't know how to communicate with spirits very well, you're going to have a rougher ride of it. It's going to be that much harder for you to do when there needs to be an intervention. But if you have understanding and you've reclaimed your power, then you're in cooperation. And even if something difficult comes, it's not a tragedy for you. It's like, okay, well, this is what I have to do. All right, got it.
Well, the difficult things, my belief, my perception is that the difficult things when they come along have a different level of meaning and you're not as invested in them. So it's not done to you, it's not about you,
Mm-hmm.
but there's probably going to be a lesson in there that can help you move forward if you can detach enough to look at it and say, okay, what's the point? What's the deal here? Um, how did this come about? And the key is to avoid the lowest frequency vibrations, which are blame and shame. When you get into that stuff, you're not going anywhere, physically or spiritually. You are digging yourself a big, deep hole and sitting in it. And if that's what you want to do, well, okay. Personally, I think it's a waste of an opportunity within this life, but the choice is, you have a free choice, right? But know that you're choosing it.
Hmm.
Know that that was an option and you chose that. So if you're sitting in victimhood, if you're sitting in a dark hole with shame, blame, and what have you, because something happened that didn't suit you, you didn't like it, it was hurtful, whatever, um, you have a choice. You can use the rope ladder and get out of the hole anytime you like. It doesn't alter the fact the hole is there, it just means you choose not to continually engage with it.
Right. And yeah. Yeah. It is my
That
time.
was the download.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Like there are things always made available for you to help yourself with, but you may not either choose or be prepared to work with it.
Mhm.
Like, the most, probably the most provoking way to say it is someone who stays in an abusive relationship. Now,
That's a lesson that hasn't been learned yet.
right. Now, a lot of times, a lot of people have options to get out, but they're not ready. Or, it's what do you get out of it? And, the first instinctive reaction is to say, who gets anything out of a beating, and being abused? Well, some people do.
I think it's not a cut and dried
Right.
situation ever, but what I will say is people will choose similar partners over and over again and end up in repeated relationships like that until they figure out why they're choosing it. And before anybody loses the plot and starts throwing things, what I mean by choosing it is you recognize certain characteristics in another person. And even though those characteristics lead to abuse, for your brain, for your
Mm-hmm.
energy as well, you recognize that as familiar. And we are wired to seek the familiar. And so until you can truly recognize what the familiar thing is and how it doesn't work for you, you're stuck in that loop because you can't see it yet. So that's another example of why it's really good to ask those questions. What's happening here? There's no blame, shame, judgment, none of that stuff. That is a human invention that really is a pain in the ass. None of that is necessary ever, honestly. It's a question of, is this working? Is this helpful? Is it good for me, good for other people? Like, where is the benefit? And if you find that this particular thing doesn't have one, or what it has is very small and the detriment is much larger, now you have your opportunity. This is your opportunity, I'll use the word again, to start asking questions and to dive in, to have a look. Okay, how do I change this? Right. And that's, again, you got to ask the why, you got to ask what's happening, you got to be open to receiving answers and open to the possibility that you're going to see a little shadow side coming up that you'd rather not admit to or you'd rather not acknowledge. That's the whole point of shadow work. That's exactly why we do it. And the thing is, you become a better person to be around when you do your shadow work. You're more of a whole person for other people to interact with. So it's very, very well worthwhile. But you got to ask questions all the way.
Yeah. It's funny because one of the other lessons of this week, if you will, was not to try to control things, but to let things be what they are and happen at the time they need to happen.
Well, honestly, that's the only thing you can do
Yeah.
because you can't force stuff to happen. It doesn't work well. That comes from, that's in human design, that's in spirituality, that's in magic, that's like every place I can think of that I've investigated, that holds true. You cannot force stuff to happen and have the outcome you want.
Right.
It doesn't work. It's like the whole love spell thing that we've talked about
Hmm.
before. Okay, you may make that influence happen, and you're likely to get a whole lot of follow on that you did not anticipate, nor do you want. And and you spend a long time regretting the hastiness of that choice. So working with the shadow side and being really aware of what you're bringing forward and how that affects your intention, for example, can be very helpful in navigating a path in the dark without sight.
Right. It's funny how that's the big lesson. The darkness that reveals.
Hmm. I love it. I think that's absolutely, yeah, I'm here for it. I love that. That's so cool.
Because that's a Pep's great lesson. There's the
That
darkness that
meditation actually was
reveals.
also, that meditation you did at the
Yeah.
beginning is also on point. I recommend anybody listening to revisit that one mm, daily if you can. Like that might be a really good, I don't know if it's a good end to the day, actually, given that darkness comes at that point. That might be the time to do that one, is at the end of the day. But that was powerful. I love how you did that. And the energy from it was really good. So, yeah, I recommend that you go back to the beginning and do that one again.
Yeah. I will offer that I fought it for a couple of seconds because I wasn't sure. Am I telling the story or is it Pep telling the story? And then Pep's like, no, I'm telling it. Get the hell out of my way. I'm
Uh-huh.
telling the story. So I was like, all right,
Uh-huh.
it's yours.
Yeah. No, that was great.
So yeah, and that's the big takeaway. The darkness can be very revealing, but it's the place where you nurture yourself so that you can move up. Like, so I had said, right? I had texted Michaela, you know, the light reveals the truth, but the darkness nurtures the possibilities.
That's so powerful.
So consider
Absolutely
that.
love that. That's so powerful.
So I want the listeners to consider that whenever you're in doubt, whenever you question what you're doing, don't be afraid that you're questioning. Don't be afraid that you have doubts. Just see why those doubts exist.
Yeah, questioning is never wrong. I don't give a rat's ass who says it is. Questioning cannot be wrong because you obviously have something that you need to know. Now, questioning for the sake of being a jerk isn't really questioning, right? Yes, you can start doing the, oh, yeah, well, why? Yeah, well, what?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a really immature, knee jerk response, and it's not a true question. So, what I'm talking about are the real questions, not the let me be a jerk. And frankly, if that comes up for you, then there's a little bit of a shadow side. You might want to go look at it.
Yeah.
Um, go check that out for yourself. But the questions, yeah, we're made to question. I mean, what does a child do?
Mm-hmm.
Child questions everything. They question it by picking it up, looking at it. They put it in their mouth to see like what's the taste, what's the
Yeah.
texture, how solid is it, what does it do? Kids learn in so many ways, and all of it is an inquiry.
Yeah.
All of it, everything that a kid does is a massive inquiry, and they learn to shut down when adults tell them to.
Mm-hmm.
So, as an adult, your role is to go back to that childlike openness to learning. Well, what? What's there? Why? What does this do? And fear is something that's always going to be there, and it's healthy. It stops you from doing stupid shit. So, good. Fear is going to stop you from walking off a cliff, for example. That's a good thing. You don't have to fear fear. You can accept fear, recognize it, work with it, and decipher when it is useful, it's keeping you safe, and when it's an old program that's running and you can kind of dispel it. So, fear is an aspect of shadow work
Mm-hmm.
that the aim isn't to get rid of fear, right? You want fear. Not having fear is a problem. That's when you walk across a highway and expect everybody to stop. Good luck, and it's not going to go that way. Fear is something that's going to get you jumping out of a plane without a parachute,
Right.
or rather, it's going to stop you
Yeah.
from doing that. And if you don't have fear, you're going to jump out without the parachute because you don't have that understanding.
Yeah.
So fear isn't a bad thing.
Right.
It's
Well,
a
that's what,
base of awareness.
yeah, I did an episode on fear in season one, and what I basically said, what I focused on about fear was fear is you trying to answer questions. Fear is your subconscious trying to get you to get information.
It can be. And it can also simply be a straight up, yo, this is a
Yeah.
red flag. Don't do that. Comes under the heading of stupid shit. And, that helps us stay alive.
Yeah.
So fear's not a bad thing. It's only a problem if it controls you and if
Right.
it stops you from living. I have come across someone in my life who basically lived in fear their entire lives, achieved nothing that they were here to do, other than to be a lesson for other people not to do that. But that's kind of a heavy duty price to pay. That's an awful lot. So if fear is taking over, um, first of all, I would practice that meditation that Danielle did in the beginning often and often because it'll get you in the right headspace and the right energy, and then really look into where's that coming from? How much am I carrying that I don't need to carry? Whose is it? Is a
Yeah.
really good question because we have fears that aren't ours. If you have a parent that's got a fear of heights, chances are the kid will too. Well, it's not genetic. They learned that.
Yeah.
It's there's things you pass on to your kids that you don't even know you do. Like, for example, in my other work, when I'm working with kids with autism and so on, anxiety is a big feature. Now, that's fully understandable given that the world doesn't make sense a lot of the time. But the other thing is the way a person copes with their anxiety, that is learned. That is you learn that by watching. So I don't even know where I was going with all of that, but it's kind of important to just know that those interactions are out there. Like, I don't know, that
Well,
thread just went.
I'll tell you what it made me think about. I was reading something
Good, thank
recently
you.
about schizophrenia, and in the
Okay.
sort of Western, if you will, capitalist kind of environment where it's everyone out for themselves, the voices you experience in schizophrenia are cruel and mean and evil. But when you're in a society that's not like that, the voices are pleasant and encouraging and
Oh, how
actually
interesting.
ask you to do, and it even promotes kind behavior.
How interesting. What societies like that?
They had pointed out, like a lot of African countries are like this, where when people have it, but I'm trying to think, where basically the cultures have more spiritual values in them,
Okay.
there's no negative talk,
How interesting. Hmm.
which actually made me wonder because I always thought, mental illness and having spirits, like, you can be mentally ill and possessed at the same time, and possession can lead to mental illness. Like those two can coexist. So I just thought schizophrenia was you not being able to control your internal dialogue. And then, theoretically, you could also have then a spirit taking advantage of that. But now, after hearing that, it made me think maybe it's not so much a mental illness per se as it is a vulnerability to, you have a predisposition to vulnerability to manipulation. And when you sit in an environment that nurtures bad thoughts all the time, you're vulnerable to the more negative out there.
That certainly makes sense. I don't know, but that makes sense. I'd be very interested to look into that a bit more, a lot more actually.
Mm.
Um, yeah, that's such a cool perspective though. And I can see if you grow up in an environment where there's a lot of negativity
Mm.
and sort of anger energy, then if you're going to have a problem, that's how it's going to show up. Would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's very logical. Hmm, how
So yeah,
interesting.
so schizophrenia probably is some kind of mental issue. but how it manifests itself has very much to do with your surrounding. But that, you can look at a lot of problems that way. How the problem ends up manifesting itself, or the its symptoms could very well be very much shaped by the environment you're in. So,
Yeah.
or that
You know,
probably
it's
is
funny.
actually the whole.
I'm going to tell this story simply because she came to mind, and I think I may have mentioned this woman before. But when I was working in a hospital, we had this 99-year-old
Yes,
woman come in. Okay, the one that would talk to the spirits in the
yes.
wall.
Mhm.
Yeah, she comes to mind because she had the most positive, cheerful outlook you could come across. Like everything to her was it was either funny or cute or she didn't have a bad thought about anything that happened, including the medical condition that brought her into the hospital in the first place. Like she was just fine. She accepted it like, okay, this is a thing. And what was so interesting about her, well, there were so many things, but one of them was when she left the hospital, she was walking out like a
Mm,
20-year-old. Like she was just bouncing out there. And her daughter, who was in her late 70s, had a cane. And, she looked like an old woman. And her outlook was a lot more sour, should we say, than mom's.
right.
And I have no interest in looking into why that might be, but just the difference in the two people. And the one talking to the spirits all the time was just having the best time. Like she was having a blast. And, I hope she lived way past 110
Right.
because she was just epic and so alive. She was so full of energy. And again, I don't really know why she came to mind so strongly, but she really did. And it was a pleasure to get to know her a little bit.
Mm. Well, on that note, so Apep has left the building.
Okay.
So, much like last week, though, someone else has stepped
Oh,
in.
who do we have?
Let's see if Michaela can figure this one out, like she figured out Apep. So, this one is a blue skinned woman, half female, half snake. A lot of serpents there showing up.
Yeah.
So, I'm seeing her as blue skin, whether or not she actually has blue skin scales. So, I'd wager something Hindu, possibly. Looking at the adornments,
Mm.
but that could be just how I'm interpreting. In my mind, I'm thinking like a Naga or a Diva or a Lamia. No, Lamia is Middle Eastern, right?
It would be a Naga woman, I think. But let me see if I can find something. Oh, serpent goddess.
Well, I was going to say because usually these have a name, so I'm assuming she's a named person or a named spirit or a god or a goddess. I would have
Yeah,
argued
you're gonna.
Lilith, but this looks nothing like the way Lilith normally shows up. So,
Ooh, Manasa Devi, the serpent goddess of prosperity and this is again Hinduism, prosperity and protection.
she gave a thumbs up.
Does she
You're gonna
have
have
a
to send
thumbs
me the
up?
name. You're gonna have to send me the name.
Manasa, Manasa, Manasa Devi, Devi, the serpent goddess, revered in Hinduism, symbolizing fertility, prosperity, and protection from snake bites and diseases.
Hmm.
Known as the daughter of sage Kashyapa and Kadru, I don't know. Commands reverence in rural India, especially among people who, funnily enough, are looking for help with snakes. Um, Her blessings are sought for fertility, marital harmony, and general prosperity. So there you go. That's what I have there.
Hmm.
Manasa it comes from the Sanskrit word manas, meaning mind.
Hmm.
which reflects her association with inner wisdom, clarity, and spiritual awakening.
Well, it makes sense.
It does. But then you also have Nagendra, who is the Queen of Serpents. So you're going to have to tell me which one is coming up for you.
First one.
The first one, Vanessa Devi.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah, very cool. Fun. Now I'm getting all kinds of starseed questions. That's hilarious.
All right. Well, it'd be interesting to see what this week brings. Holy crap.
I'm kind of loving the serpent themes, I have to say. I
Yeah.
really like that. Hmm. Serpents are so maligned and yet so important,
Yeah.
and they're so, yeah, they're not going to harm you. They're not out to harm you, and unless they feel attacked, they're not going to come after you. It's a lot of work.
Hmm.
They just want to get on with their lives, you know?
Yeah. That was my other thing this week. Oh my God, the behavior of animals was like so clear to me.
Oh, we had a little exchange
Mm.
earlier, didn't we,
Yeah.
about animals telling us to get out of their space?
Yeah. There was aside from the chipmunk I had mentioned to you, there was a black squirrel too, and I was like watching it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, no, it's thinking about that. No, oh, it's gonna do this now. Oh no, it's gonna do that one now." And it was just like, "Holy crap!" Like it's like
Mm,
it's all clear. But yeah, when you
yeah.
take
No,
yourself out of
spending
the
time
way,
in nature.
yeah,
Spending time in nature is good.
when you take your own emotions out of the way and you just let things be what they are, understanding comes a lot easier.
That needs to be, that sentence you just said
Mm.
needs to be, those two sentences,
Yeah.
underline, stick a pin in it.
Hmm.
Those are absolutely important. Yep. It's true. It's absolutely true. When you get your own ego out of the way, which is, the whole thing of my viewpoint, my feelings, my thoughts on that, yada yada, you can get all that crap out of the way, then you can actually see straight. There's more stuff to be learned
Hmm.
once you can get that out of the space in between. Like the kaleidoscope. It's awfully hard to see where you're driving if you're trying to look through a kaleidoscope, right?
Hmm.
It's not going to go well.
Yeah. So a lot of big lessons for this episode.
There is. Absolutely cool. Like this is one I would totally say, download it,
Mm.
just highlight it somewhere, keep this one going because there's some really good stuff in this.
Yeah. I was just thinking, yeah, because the like I know on the Apple Podcast app you can do a transcript. So if
Oh,
you're
okay.
listening and you wanted the transcript of what we were saying for yourself, that's one way to do it. Yeah, it's just
I don't
don't
know.
take for
I don't
granted
know
that
how well I don't know how well our podcast transcribes. I think there's
sometimes
a
it
lot of
transcribes pretty difficultly.
yeah, yeah. I can see how it would be hard to follow in a transcript, but I think listening to it again is more the way it's presented, so it's probably the way it would best be received.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so the big lesson is don't take for granted that the light reveals everything, and don't take for granted that the dark obscures everything.
Mhm. Well, they both have their place, and I would
Right.
like to offer the idea of the serpent chasing the sun god Ra. So Apep chasing Ra across the sky. But hang on a minute. Let's freeze frame. Now, look at it with a different perspective. Is Ra chasing Apep? Because they're
It's
actually
a
going in
cycle,
a
right?
circle.
So, yeah,
They're going in a circle. So who's chasing whom?
the light is
We
chasing
we
the
make
darkness. Yeah.
we make some assumptions there that people hang on to because they're convenient and we don't think about everything once we've said it. But who's chasing whom? What would the story be like if we changed who was in front in that chase?
Yeah.
Ooh. Now, why would Ra be chasing Apep?
That's
That's a
it.
question, that would be something to even journal on because you get your subconscious kicking in at that point if you just write a stream of consciousness. Or just ask the question before you go to bed if you're up for some lucid dreaming. You may get some interesting answers.
Yeah.
But what's Ra trying to obscure by chasing Apep?
Hmm. Yeah. What possibilities is he trying to eliminate?
Mm. What does he want to distract you from?
Oh my God. Okay. We've just flipped the script, right? We just
Uh-huh.
turned Raw into the god of the surveillance state.
Uh-huh. I know.
The sun reveals everything. The light touches everything. Therefore, nothing is hidden. Therefore, nothing can nurture itself because everything is being seen.
There's a lot there. Also, the distraction,
Hmm.
right? Like there's so much that can be, oh man, this is okay, let's go there. There's so much that can be seen that you can't possibly see everything.
Hmm.
There are distractions, so you're missing the big point. And the darkness is giving you space to see.
Hmm.
So the sun god Ra is actually chasing that away
Right.
to hide whatever needs to be hidden, whatever the sun god wants to hide. But just think about that, see where it takes you. I think that's pretty epic that the whole flip the script.
Yeah,
Now what do we have? Huh,
that's a good one. I think we should end on that one because that's a great thing to work with.
right? I'm liking it.
Yeah. So, listeners, take that wave and ride it. Like that's flip the script and yeah. Well, okay. Before the feeling is gone, once again, I'm Daniel Zubua.
I'm Michaela Stone.
Until next time.
Until next time.